Have you ever considered the depth of your capacity to love and forgive? It's a question that may seem simple on the surface, but once we begin to dive into its depths, we realize it's anything but. These two virtues, love and forgiveness, are often spoken of, but how often do we truly contemplate their interconnection and their role as foundational principles of faith? Love, in its purest form, is divine, selfless, and unconditional. It is a love that asks for nothing in return, a love that mirrors the love we receive from the divine. And then there's forgiveness, a virtue that is as infinite as the universe itself. It's not about keeping count of wrongs, but about losing count altogether. These two principles, love and forgiveness, are intertwined, each feeding and growing from the other. They are not just fleeting emotions, they are choices we make, decisions that shape our lives. As we embark on this journey today, remember, love and forgiveness are not just feelings, they are choices. In the heart of every scripture, there lies a commandment: love one another as I have loved you. This divine decree echoes across faiths and cultures, whispering a truth that is as old as time itself. It speaks of a love that is not measured by earthly standards, a love that is divine, selfless, unconditional. Picture, if you will, the concept of divine love. It is boundless, encompassing every soul, every heart, every spirit. It's a love that sees beyond our flaws, our mistakes, our frailties. A love that embraces us in our entirety, baring its heart to the raw and unedited versions of ourselves. It's a love that doesn't seek to gain, but only to give. A love that doesn't keep score, but simply pours itself out in a ceaseless flow of grace and mercy. This is the love that was modeled by Jesus. He loved us not for who we could be, not for what we could give, but for who we are. It is a love that bore our burdens, that wept with our sorrows, that rejoiced in our joys. It is a love that was willing to lay down its life, that we might live in the fullness of grace and peace. When Jesus commanded us to love one another, it was this love he was speaking of. A love that is transformative, that is healing, that is life-giving. It is a love that calls us to look beyond ourselves, to see the inherent worth and dignity of every soul. It is a love that challenges us to break down barriers, to bridge divides, to build a world that reflects the heart of divine love. This love is not a burden, but a gift. It is not a demand, but an invitation. It is a call to step into the fullness of who we were created to be, to live in love with a heart that is open, generous, and kind. In loving others, we become mirrors reflecting the light of divine love. Forgiveness, like love, is not about keeping count, but losing it. This is a profound truth that often gets lost in the hustle and bustle of our daily lives. But let's take a moment to delve into this concept, the infinite nature of forgiveness as taught by Jesus. When we consider the concept of forgiveness, we often think of it in finite terms. We tally up the wrongs done to us as if they were points in a game, often feeling justified in our resentment or anger. But Jesus taught us a different way. He illustrated that forgiveness is not about keeping score. It's about losing count completely. Imagine for a moment a world where everyone let go of their scorecards, where grudges and resentments were replaced with understanding and compassion. This is the world Jesus invited us to create when he urged us to forgive not just 7 times, but 70 times 7. In other words, infinitely. This is not to say that forgiveness is easy, far from it. It's a decision that we must consciously make, sometimes over and over again. But it's a decision that leads us on a pathway to healing. By choosing to forgive, we free ourselves from the chains of bitterness and resentment that can weigh heavily on our hearts. Forgiveness is a reflection of love, the kind of divine, selfless, and unconditional love that Jesus demonstrated throughout his life. When we forgive, we're not just letting go of our anger or hurt. We're choosing to reflect God's love, to be mirrors of his grace and mercy. And why do we forgive? We forgive because we too have been forgiven. Each of us has made mistakes, has caused hurt, has fallen short, yet we've been shown infinite mercy and grace. In the act of forgiveness, we're simply reflecting the love that we have so abundantly received. In the grand design of our spiritual journeys, forgiveness is not a burden, but a gift. It's an opportunity for us to show love in its purest form, to embody grace, and to reflect the infinite mercy of God. We forgive because we have been forgiven, reflecting God's love in the act of forgiveness. Love and forgiveness are not burdens, but gifts for our freedom. A profound statement, isn't it? Let's unpack it together. Imagine your heart as a birdcage, and within it a beautiful songbird representing your authentic self, your purest potential. Now, imagine resentment, anger, and hatred as heavy chains binding this cage. They weigh it down, restricting the bird from soaring freely. This is what happens when we hold on to grudges and refuse to forgive. It limits us, keeps us chained to the past, and restricts the full expression of who we are meant to be. But what if we choose to forgive? What if we unshackle these chains? The birdcage door swings open, and the songbird takes flight, filling the air with its beautiful song. That's the power of forgiveness. It's an act of liberation that sets us free, allowing us to soar to new heights, unburdened by the past. And what about love? Consider it as the wind beneath the songbird's wings. It is what propels us forward, upward, onward. When we choose to love, we choose to rise above our circumstances, to rise above the hurts and the pains. Love is the catalyst that propels us into the realm of limitless possibilities, where we can live fully, deeply, authentically. So love and forgiveness are not burdens that weigh us down, but gifts that lift us up. They are the keys that unlock the birdcage, setting our hearts free to live fully in God's love. They are not obligations or duties, but choices we make for our own freedom. They are not about the other person, but about us, about our journey, our growth, our freedom. And when we choose to love and forgive, we reflect God's love, becoming mirrors of His grace and mercy. We become conduits of His everlasting love, channels through which His love flows freely, touching and transforming lives around us. In choosing to love and forgive, we become free to live fully in God's love. Let's make that choice today. Let's choose love, choose forgiveness, choose freedom. Love and forgiveness are not just for the one who receives them, but for the one who gives them. These words, my friends, invite us into a transformative journey, a journey where we are both the travelers and the path itself. It's a journey that asks us to walk in love and forgiveness, to let these divine principles guide our steps, shape our hearts, and renew our spirits. And the beauty of it all is that the more we walk this path, the more we become it. We become vessels of love and carriers of forgiveness, and in doing so, we become more like the one who first loved and forgave us. You see, love and forgiveness are not passive states of being, but active choices we make. In every interaction, in every conversation, in every silent prayer, we are given the opportunity to choose love over indifference, forgiveness over resentment. And each time we make that choice, we are choosing freedom. Freedom from the chains of bitterness that bind us. Freedom from the walls of hostility that divide us. But let's be clear. Choosing love and forgiveness doesn't mean ignoring the hurt or denying the pain. It doesn't mean pretending that everything is okay when it's not. No, love and forgiveness are not about bypassing the hard stuff, but about walking through it. They are about facing the darkness with courage, knowing that we are not alone, and trusting that the dawn will break. And here's the even more fascinating part. When we choose to love and forgive, we do not just transform our own hearts, but we also impact those around us. It's like throwing a stone into a pond. The ripples spread out, touching every part of the water. That's the power of love and forgiveness. They ripple out, touching and transforming hearts, mending relationships, healing wounds, and reminding us of our shared humanity. So, let us be ripple makers. Let's choose to love even when it's hard, to forgive even when it hurts. Let's remember that love is not a feeling, but a decision, and forgiveness is not a one-time act, but a daily practice. And as we make these choices, let's remember that we are not alone. We are held and guided by the one whose love is infinite, whose forgiveness is boundless. In this walk of love and forgiveness, we are not just receivers, but givers. We give love because we have been loved. We forgive because we have been forgiven. And in doing so, we reflect the divine image within us. We become mirrors of His grace and mercy, reflecting His love in our words, His forgiveness in our actions, His presence in our lives. In choosing to love and forgive, we choose freedom, we choose healing, and most importantly, we choose to be mirrors of God's grace and mercy. So let's make that choice today and every day, and watch as our lives and the world around us transform, one act of love and forgiveness at a time.